Mom demanded I get rid of my wife's pregnancy because my sister was planning to get pregnant this year. Found out sister's actually infertile and now they want to be part of my baby's life. My sister and I are 3 years apart in age, but my mother has always treated her like she is a temperamental toddler, and I guess that's why she has turned out to be so spoiled, even at her taxpayer age. Right now, she is 27F and I am 30M, and my wife and I are expecting a baby. She and I have been married for 2 years and together for 5, and we are really looking forward to becoming parents. We found out about it a couple of months ago and decided to tell our families first, before making any big announcements. Her family was extremely happy for both of us, but of course, my mother had to dig out something negative from this. My dad congratulated us and left it at that, but my mother decided to call me back a couple of hours after we told her about the pregnancy and told me that she did not think that going ahead with the pregnancy would be a good idea. I was really surprised because my mother loves kids and I knew for a fact that she had been really excited about the potential life of a grandma when I got married and even at my sister's wedding. So this reaction was quite unexpected, and when I asked her why she would say something like that, she started coming up with arbitrary reasons for us not to have a baby right now. She told us that it would be financially straining for us and even said that since both of us were quite career-oriented, it would be troublesome for us to decide who would stay home with the baby when both of us had to go back to work. I told her that we had already thought about those things and we had enough savings to take care of a baby now since we have been working for a really long time and it's not like we are just winging it at the moment. My wife and I both work in the same company and we do get paid maternity and paternity leave, and also when we finally do have to go back to work, we figured we would either just hire babysitters or get the family to help out. Neither of those reasons that she was citing seemed like a good enough reason to actually get rid of a pregnancy, and I knew that there was something that she was not telling me. So I kept pushing until she finally told me the truth. And of course, it turned out that she was doing all of this for my sister. Apparently, my darling sister had been planning to get pregnant this year too, but unfortunately, for her, it hadn't happened yet. She was already quite upset about that, and my mom felt that it wasn't the right time for us to have a baby because if we started our pregnancy journey around the same time as her, it would become quite emotionally draining for her. Here's the deal, my sister and I really don't get along. We used to fight a lot while we were living together, and then I started college and I left home, and it was a huge relief for both of us. And because we don't get along, I don't particularly care what she thinks about certain things, my wife's pregnancy being one of those things. If she can't handle the fact that we are pregnant and she isn't, that sounds like a problem and not something that I have to deal with. But of course, my mom likes making my sister's problems a bigger deal than what they are so that it can eventually become everybody's problem. So I told my mother that it was sad that she hadn't gotten pregnant yet, even though she had apparently been planning to get pregnant, but I'm not going to get rid of my wife's pregnancy just to spare her feelings. That was an insane suggestion, and I told her that, for her sake, I was going to pretend that she never even said that so that I would still be able to respect her as a member of my family. However, instead of taking it back and letting that go, she decided to double down on it and started telling me that my sister had actually been planning to get pregnant for a really long time and she and her husband had been trying, but it just hadn't been working out for them. The news of my wife's pregnancy was just going to break her, so I needed to be mindful of her feelings and not go through with this pregnancy because it would simply break the family into two. The most concerning part of all of this was that she actually thought that this was a valid suggestion, that I should get rid of my wife's pregnancy just because my sister would feel hurt. I knew that there was no point in arguing with her, so I decided to just say okay and then I hung up. But that was just because I did not want to take that conversation further. I did not actually have any intention of doing what she said. After saying that, I blocked her everywhere and I even told my father what had happened, so he apologized to me on my mom's behalf and told me that he would make sure that she did not try to contact me again. So that was how you dealt with the situation, and since then, my dad has stayed true to his promise and has made sure that my mom did not contact me after that. For the past 4 months, we have not been on speaking terms and life has been pretty peaceful. But then, we decided to make a public post on social media, announcing our pregnancy because we thought that it was finally time, and that's how my sister found out. I don't regret making that post because we wanted to share our happiness with everyone, and so we did. If that made my sister upset, tough luck for her. And I know that it did make her upset because a couple of days ago, she and my mother decided to show up at my house to talk about our family and how we were going to go ahead after everything that had happened. If I'm being honest, I had never considered my sister part of my family because she had never behaved that way with me. Like I said, she and I were never very close, and after we left home and started living separately, there was nothing forcing us to keep in touch with each other, and so we did not stay involved in each other's lives. The only time we met each other was at parties, on the holidays, and we did invite each other to our weddings, but that was just out of a sense of obligation. And I was very upfront about all of this, so I told my sister that I really don't consider her close or a part of my family, So there was no reason that I thought it was important for me to mention that my wife was pregnant. I also knew for a fact that had it been her who got pregnant first, she never would have bothered to tell me about it first, and I would have also found out on social media whenever she finally decided to post it. As for my mother, I told her that she had made her bed and now she had to lie in it because what she had said to me when I decided to share the news of our pregnancy with her was horrifying, and I did not want to entertain negativity like that in my life. I told them that right now, even if they were here to apologize to me and make things right, it would take me some time to process everything and I wasn't just gonna forgive them then and there and give them a second chance. I was very brutally honest with them because I did not have the patience to deal with them at the time, and after I was done talking, my sister broke down and started sobbing in the living room. That came as a bit of a shock to me because I really did not think that this would hit her so hard since we had never been close, and I really don't know why she would even expect me to be all fake and sweet with her. My mom consoled her, and she was the one who told me that recently, after planning and trying for a baby for almost a year and a half, they had to come to the conclusion that she was dealing with infertility. The doctors could not find a cause as to why she couldn't get pregnant and they just had to wait it out, which was quite disappointing because she was ready to become a mother in her head. It was just not possible for her to become a mother physically at the moment. She had been shattered after she found out, which had happened a couple of weeks ago, and then I had posted about my wife's pregnancy. That had made her even more upset, on two accounts. The first reason was that she was unable to get pregnant, even after trying, and here we were, celebrating our first pregnancy. Of course, it made her feel a bit bitter and resentful, and the second reason was that she had to find out about her own brother's fatherhood from social media since I hadn't contacted her in person to tell her about it. It made her realize how we had drifted apart because of our personal differences, and now, she wanted to try and fix things. I went a bit soft after that, but I still managed to stand my ground. I told her that I appreciated the fact that she had come all the way here to fix things with me, but I still needed some time to process these things and decide whether I wanted to give our relationship a try or not. I also told her that I was really sorry that she was infertile, and I wished that the pregnancy would happen for her at some point, but right now, it was impossible for me to prioritize my family because the only thing that mattered to me was my wife and the pregnancy. Everything else could be dealt with later, and I did not have the emotional bandwidth to deal with my sister and my mom at the time. So I requested them to leave, and I told them that I would think things over and contact them in a while, but for now, I thought that it would be for the best to just let things be the way they had been for the past many years. I thought that I was being fair enough because I really did not have the capacity to deal with the two of them, since I knew for a fact that there was a lot of friction between us and I just wasn't in the mood to pretend that everything was fine and happy. Even if they had apologized, what my mother had said was horrifying, and my sister had also been really distant from me for the past couple of years, so it would take a lot of hard work for us to fix our relationship, and I was not willing to put in that work at the moment. Especially given the fact that my wife was pregnant and I wanted to prioritize her, so I think it should have been a given. But the two of them got offended at that, and started calling me selfish and said that I was being narcissistic by refusing to forgive them and pretending to be too busy for them. To be frank, the reason that I wanted them to leave quickly was because that day, I had to take my wife to the doctor for a regular checkup, and I didn't want to get late. So I wasn't just pretending to be too busy, I actually was too busy for them. When they got offended, it really ticked me off as well because I really didn't think that I had said anything to make them act like that. I thought I was being perfectly reasonable, and I had been quite polite to them as well. And by picking a fight with me at that moment, they were also delaying me for the doctor's appointment for my wife, so I didn't even want to argue with them. I just kept asking them to leave, and I did not even deny anything that they were accusing me of, even though I really didn't think that I was being selfish. But then, they said that they had only wanted to be a part of my child's life, but now, because of my disgustingly selfish and self-important behavior, my child would be deprived of an aunt's and a grandmother's love. My sister told me that I was doing a disservice, not just to my wife, but also to my future kids by declining to forgive them and trying to give our relationship a second chance because of my massive ego. The implication that I was going to do anything that was not good for my kid was really insulting, and that was the point at which I got offended, and I told her off instantly. First and foremost, I really did not think that their involvement in my child's life was going to make any difference because my baby is going to be loved regardless. And secondly, I really don't think that not allowing them in my child's life is going to be that bad because a couple of months ago, my mother had literally been telling me to get rid of the baby just so that her daughter could have her moment and not be overshadowed by anyone. As for my sister, she has been horrible enough to me in the past for me not to want to forgive her, and now, because of the way they reacted, I was even more sure that I was doing the right thing by deciding not to forgive them and not allowing them to be part of my baby's life. Had they been decent and good people with even half a brain, they would have left when I told them that I was not ready to forgive them just yet and that I needed my time to think about things, But they decided to force their decision on me and started making me the bad guy just because they were not ready to accept the fact that they might not be involved in my baby's life, which was their own fault, to be honest. After that, the fight started to escalate and my wife had to get involved. Until then, she had stayed in her room because she really did not have the energy to deal with my mom and my sister and the drama that they were causing, so I had asked her to stay out of it because I really did not want her to stress herself out. But everything got so loud and confrontational that eventually, she had to come out of her room to request my mom and my sister to leave, and that really made me very upset because the last thing that I had wanted was for my wife to get upset and stressed out, and that's exactly what they had done.